chapter of the Inside Sales Association, and he's at a company called Mindshift, which was acquired by Rico. You heard of that then? Have you ever talked to those guys?
Years ago, I mean, they were venture capital backed for a while, kind of doing outsourced technology, help desk type stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
Outsourced IT department.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. They were originally acquired by Hourly Nerd, then they were acquired by, we helped plug in market. Then they were acquired by Rico.
Right.
And one of the things he said when he was in here is he's like, well, we need training. He goes, but before training, I really need to improve my marketing. So he went on a whole diatribe around his marketing. So he says right here, to go deeper into marketing, cost per lead on the marketing side is very high, $1,200 for qualified lead. When I saw that, I was like, oh, wow. Exactly. So they're going to spend money, so I should introduce it to him. But going back to the lead sources, what we believe at Foresight BP is a term that a guy named Alan Nance at a company called What Counts in Atlanta, fast-growing SaaS company, what he believes in, all bound. I don't care where the lead comes from. What I care about is that I track it and I determine where I should spend my time, energy, and effort. So I'm all bound. So here are our lead sources. So we're looking at we get leads from events. We get leads from, see that old client, new company? We have systematized how we track our clients from one company to the next. And by the way, I can send these to you later on too. You guys can take notes, and I'm happy to send you a screenshot of that. So we systematically track our clients from one company to the next. We track referrals. We track people who come inbound on the website. Those are inbound, like, send me a LinkedIn message that says, hey, Jeff, we need to talk. We got a training initiative on the way. We didn't get our personal network yet. I thought we were going to get rid of that.
No, that's more, I think we're going to keep that for older outreach.
Okay, whatever. And then, if you notice these values right here, we track, and then we track stuff on the website, marketing things that you guys would think about, like a brochure download or request a meeting form. Those would be things, when marketers think of leads, that's when they think of how they think of leads. But we're also tracking sales development outreach, which is saying, hey Jeff, go target this company and get an appointment with the person at that company. Now the reason they're divided into 5 and 30 days is because not all leads are created equally. So we've historically tracked which of our leads close, what percentage they close at. So for example, referral lead is obviously one of the best lead sources. So when we had a bigger sales force, when we actually had a direct sales force, which we don't anymore, we set an SLA between the marketing team and the sales team to say, okay, sales guys, hot shots. These leads are really good. We spend good money on these leads. You're not following up on them. We're going to set a period of time after which if you don't follow up, then we're going to give the lead to someone else. And we had them in a room, we said, what's a reasonable amount of time to sales team? And they're like, some people are like, 3 months. We're like, no. That is not a reasonable amount of time. Okay, what is? And then we kind of jockeyed back and forth and we settled on 5 days. Like, you got to get back to these within 5 days, otherwise it's open season, anybody else can take them. And we would literally have salespeople that are sitting there like waiting for it to expire and be like, boom, I got it. And then it would close. Because look, here's the deal. If you're so busy in sales that you're working with the other client stuff, that's cool, that's fine. But don't cry spilled milk for me if you can't get to your leads and someone else takes them. And that's only fair. And they respected that.
Steve says SLA, is everyone familiar with that acronym?
Service level agreements?
So I wrote an article called Forming a Service Level Agreement between Sales Development. This article will be helpful for you guys to share with your clients. Forming SLA, sales, marketing. There it is. Thank you, Google.
That's good to know.
Like that. And I picked that. Who saw Dallas Buyers Club?
I think you shared this one with us when you came in.
Oh, did you already see this one? Okay, cool. I know it's long, and I know I'm sure you read it like 5 times since then, but have a look at it. It will make a lot more sense in the context of the sales development and everything. But I like the picture because it's, Dallas Buyers Club. The whole point is like Jared Leto and Matthew McConaughey's characters come from such different worlds, but they're forced to work together, which is in some ways what it's like with sales development, gets together with sales, or marketing and sales for that matter. But the same problem that happens between marketing and sales happens between sales development and sales,
Right.
which is kind of interesting. So, yeah, off topic. Well, I'd love to just go around and just have everyone introduce themselves to Jeff, and then find out what you want. I know you did kind of informally out there, but find out what you wanted to cover today, and then I'll get into the actual program.
Okay.
Does that sound good, Mark? Cool.
So Jeff, I'll start. So my role at Strategic is really kind of leading the charge on the sales front. And we'll talk about this more when we kind of get together afterwards. But you know, the biggest challenges that we find from the sales perspective is our business, we have kind of a differentiated offering, and we've really tried to champion this area of the marketplace that we refer to as web to sales. So back during our public relations days, our business development model was fairly simple. It was, most companies had a PR budget, they were working with an agency. We just were as visible as we possibly could, talk to as many people as we possibly could, because when you got sick of your own PR agency and you put out an RFP, put us on the list. We'd respond to RFPs, we'd win 20 to 25% of those deals. That's where the client flow came from. So we actually had a guy who worked for us. All his job was going to as many events as possible and just handing out business cards, collecting business cards, and being visible that way. What we do now is we ask our clients to spend money on something that they're not currently spending money on. So they either have to see so much value in what it is that we do, or if they have to find money from someplace else. And so because of that, from a sales perspective, our challenge is finding a certain type of organization at a certain point of their maturation with a certain need, and then finding a champion in that organization, someone that can actually push through a budget. And I know that sounds really easy, but it actually it's very, very challenging.
Sure.
So our business development methodology has changed dramatically. So we do a lot of thought leadership promotion around web to sales. We speak and sponsor a variety of different events. And then we seek out relationships like this one where it's a complementary solutions provider selling to a similar client set. And so my job is talking to a lot of people. And so for instance, you know, the big client that we just started up with this month, you know, corporate executive board CB, where we know well, I mean, that's been in our pipeline for 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5 years. It was a long, long run there. So I met the former chief marketing officer at an Eloqua user conference in Orlando, Rory Channer. And he ended up leaving the organization. I got kicked to the head of digital marketing, a guy by the name of Matt Stevens. And then ultimately what it took was the hiring of a gentleman by the name of Fletcher Jones as kind of their new senior vice president of global marketing out of AOL. And so I went from Rory to Matt to Fletcher, and he was our champion. So once we connected with him, it was then a 8-week process. So what's interesting is when we went to do the kind of the client kickoff meeting, everyone said, wow, this came together really fast, we're so excited about this. And I was like, well, it actually didn't come together really fast. Actually, it was 2.5 years coming together. Okay. So that's one example. The other example is a company called Concilio, which is an e-discovery company based in Washington, D.C., a global company, about 300 employees. That was a situation where their vice president of marketing was just frustrated with how they'd been going to market, was frustrated in its relationship with sales, and saw this as our web to sales model as something that we could really get behind and champion. So again, a lot of what we struggle with is finding those types of champions, finding organizations at a certain point in their maturation. Because what you do, most companies have this function. What we do, most companies have that function, but it's very disparate, it's very unorganized, and there's no budget wrapped around it. So
Can you give an example of one of your microsites?
yeah, sure. Let's use Ryan's example. And I would always like to call up Public Sector View, but I just cannot look at that version of Public Sector.
Which one is it? Next week.
Do you have?
Is that why there's something kind of weird going on?
Oh, we gotta pull up public sector view now.
That's what?
You reminded me.
Why don't you pull up Public Sector View?
It's
That's
like
about
Josh's
old
post,
station.
and it's like warning, line,
Why don't you pull up
something instead of
publicsectorview.com?
pictures. I'll show you.
PSV?
Yeah. There's something wonky with the pictures this morning. I was on there pulling some. Yeah.
You wanna go somewhere else?
No.
Give me another one.
Well,
What industries are you
I haven't been
targeting?
on that
So I heard you
side.
say
Yeah, well, maybe
Eloqua,
it's just
and then
like
I heard you, the e-discovery, so it sounds like you
That-
go after saturated markets?
Oh,
Is that?
Same articles as where.
Okay.
No, same exact, like, that's when we first sat down, it was like, his client
You
list
see
is
something
our
like that?
client list, our
No,
client
no,
list.
right away.
Sure, sure.
Crazy. It's like, every one of our logos is someone that.
Take a look.
Can you walk Jeff through this?
Yeah, that's a pop-up ad. So
Right now it has an error. I'm redesigning the site as we speak, so probably a result.
Is that why?
Yeah,
I figure with
Okay.
Polycom, public sector view.
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, this is a program that we're running on behalf of Polycom. It's for their entire public sector business, so that includes 4 target verticals for them: federal, state, and local education and healthcare. You know, Polycom, it's kind of interesting. For them, you know, this really kind of started almost as like an extension of just straight like marketing and PR. So it was a lot of brand awareness and thought leadership. And we've been trying to really push them towards more sales enablement with this.
Right.
But there is some stuff built in. So there's some top of the funnel lead generation through the resource center that you see on there. So when you click through to that resource center, you're actually going to see it's all premium resources that all require registration for download. The ones that are specifically, apologize about that error, we'll get that straightened up right away. But
So if I go here, I'm gonna get a date.
yes, and there's kind of a combination.
Oh, there you go. Yep, there's your form.
Yep, and everything's tied in through Eloqua for anything that is Polycom focused. Now, we do have a sponsor program that runs through here. So there are other Polycom sponsors, and they're mostly their solution providers. So the companies that sell their product into their customers. Polycom really has no direct sales. They pretty much just sell. So like if someone comes in is like, I want Polycom, they'd be like, great, call VSGI, call AVI SPL, and they'll, you know, because it's really a situation where they have to go in, look at the space, and then kind of build the solution for them, especially for the high-end video teleconferencing. So a lot of times they'll refer them to someone else. But those are the companies that actually are sponsoring the program right now. And what they get as part of their sponsorship is free content, premium content in the resource center. So as you go through those resource center things, you'll see some of the stuff leads back to Polycom and into their Eloqua. Some of that leads into their sponsors, Eloqua, or in cases where their sponsors aren't sophisticated enough, we've built forms for them on the back end of WordPress, and then we just send them any downloads that they get for them to enter into their sales thing.
So where do they go at Polycom?
That's a good question. We've been trying to figure that out, and they just brought in someone new to kind of head up public sector marketing. Meredith, my direct contact, got promoted up into corporate, and they brought in someone else who's been kind of getting up to speed. And we've been trying to figure out exactly, like, I get pushback every single time. I'm like, great, so, you know, someone fills out a form, they go into Eloqua. What's the nurture? Is there a nurture stream in place? Can we impact that nurture stream? Can we be using our content in that nurture stream?
What about a human contact too?
Yeah, they do have an inside salesperson.
Right.
So I'm working, finally, after like a month or so of badgering, I finally got this new person to try to set up a meeting with me in inside sales. And that's most likely going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. And we're going to try to figure out where these leads are going, what the nurture looks like, who's touching them, if there's some way. I mean, if those leads go in and they're good qualified leads, but they don't answer any sales calls, can we use direct editorial outreach through the site to try to build a relationship with them? Like, there's so much that we could be doing for them that we're not. And the other thing is they just brought in someone else who's heading up all of public sector sales, a gentleman by the name of Sean, and I'm meeting him next week. And it's supposed to be just for an interview for the site, but I'm going to spend some time kind of introducing the site to him and talking about some of the things that we could be doing that we're kind of not yet, and seeing if we can make it a little bit more sales enablement focused than just kind of thought leadership and brand awareness and lead generation.
We talked about Polycom.
Is it Lisa Ayers? AYERS?
She's a sales lady though. We're not talking to anybody at Inside Sales as far as I know. That's the director of America's Telesales. But we should be. Because like we can help you in that conversation. When you get a human touch, you're 3 to 4 times more likely to qualify that lead into an opportunity. So there's been a ton of research on this. So someone should be following up on those leads. Like someone. Nurture them with Eloqua. Awesome. But someone literally needs to like pick up the phone and talk to that person.
Yeah. Let me, now that it seems like Carrie, the new person who came in, is kind of like finally up to speed. Like even, Polycom can be very bureaucratic. It's a big company and there's a lot. And, I've kind of heard that anyone who comes in, like your first couple of months, it's like meeting into meeting into meeting, and that's every day for the first few months you work there.
I wouldn't work at a big company like that if they paid me $1 million.
Yeah, it feels like it would be very painful to me personally, but it seems like she's finally up to speed and kind of built those relationships with the people that we can ask those questions to. And once I have that meeting with kind of the inside sales guy that's kind of heading up public sector, I can see what's going on over there, and then we can try to figure something out. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, they can't really tell, you know, what leads have come from us, you know, so we're trying to get that worked out. You know, it's just in general we need.
They don't have a campaign associated with you or a lead source or anything?
Carrie doesn't seem to have actual access. She's asking other people who, according to her, don't seem to understand what she's asking, which is where did these leads come from? What was the campaign? So I think once I get these people on the phone and I can talk to them about that, I can figure that out. But yeah, it's been a process. But it's kind of interesting because, you know, obviously we can't tell who filled out the form because we don't have access to Eloqua, but we can see how many people are clicking on the links that are gated. And we, you know, if you look at a month's worth of traffic and what people are clicking on, I know it doesn't sound incredible, but when you think about how many people are really very, you know, so interested in our sites that they click through so much content to get to premium content, on average for a month we'd be getting 33 to 36 clicks, which is, you know, averages out to more than a lead a day if every single one of those people is filling out the form. If we're getting, you know, and obviously they're not, but, you know, for the sake of argument, let's just say that, you know, we're getting a lead a day.
Well, it's also really specific content.
Yeah.
The content qualifies on its own. You're not going to care about that unless you're public sector and you care about like video conferencing in the public sector. That's a pretty narrow slice of the Venn diagram. So
we
like,
narrow it down
that's
even more.
That's what ultimately salespeople like. How much would you like to get leads like that if you were in their inside sales team?
Yeah, that's pretty, like, on point. That's,
Yeah.
See, let me ask you to shift to a different site real
Yeah.
quick. Can you pull up cloudsprawl.net?
Sure. What was your name again? I'm sorry.
I'm Ryan.
Ryan. Yeah, good to see you again, Ryan. Okay, cloudsprawl.net.
So our clients fall into two different segments. They are field sales groups of large global brands. So even if you look at the work that we're going to be doing with CEB, it is principally for their HR practice at the moment. Now, the goal there.
By the way, which one is it? They're the advisories HR practice, or is it all those technologies that they acquired HR practice?
It's the advisory.
Okay.
And the goal is that the model that we developed there,
You're kidding
is this one okay?
It's supposed to do
me. Okay.
that. Because if it was mobile, it's.
Is it not responsive?
It is responsive.
It is. No, I was going to say, 'cause it fit the projector.
Right, it's fitting this, it's a small resolution. Even though it's a big screen, the resolution is small.
Yeah, this is not a good judge of how responsive it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, sorry.
Ellen, you didn't do anything.
Marketing geeks like us. I'm also a marketer too, and not you know, professionally, but I know enough to know what you're talking about. Right?
That's me, because Public Sector Review had an error on it, and I looked at it, I'm like, oh god, these are all my I'm contemplating what I'm gonna hang myself with when I get home.
So it's field sales groups at large global brands, and then it is emerging growth companies. So the client here is a company called DiviCloud. And those emerging growth companies are primarily private equity backed. Anywhere from angel round to up through a Series B, even a more institutional first private equity round. And this used to not be a market focus for us. We used to primarily skew to the larger organizations. But candidly, a lot of the frustration that we found is with the larger organizations is our ability to affect change in terms of how they manage sales flow is very, very minimal. And the frustrations that we've had with Polycom, and this isn't a knock on Polycom because it's pretty consistent with Juniper Networks and somewhat consistent with NetApp, is we often wonder how they actually sell anything to anybody. We really do. I mean, because it's just, you know, we had a situation with another client of Ryan where there was a lot of interest in a specific piece of premium content and developed multiple downloads. And so Ryan asked the question, well, okay, well, where do these names go? And well, I went to a database. Right. What database? Where? Who? And no one could answer that question.
Right.
And it was like, you know, we came away thinking like, you know, hey man, all these companies just like the idea of, oh, we're in sales and marketing. They don't actually like doing it. Oh, you know, the biggest complaint that we get about the programs that we work with on our clients, is our clients will often say, well, wow, this takes a lot of work. And my reaction is, well, thankfully this is your job. Yeah, it takes work, no one out in summer camp here. So what we found is, we shied away from a lot of the earlier stage clients for budget reasons, but what we found is with the right type of client, the budget can make a sustainable program. And the difference is, we're not dealing with a bureaucratic function to try to get movement. Here at Cloud Sprawl, what is this, like 5 people, 4 people?
You said Digi Cloud?
Yeah, I'm sorry,
DIVVY?
Right.
It's a cloud management
I'll let you talk a little bit more.
How big is the company?
Really small. They have about 4 people right now.
Really? 4-person company?
Oh yeah, it's very tiny.
They're
Hey, by the way,
They're
real quick, if anyone wanted Diet Coke or anything else, there's a bunch of different types of sodas in the fridge.
Why
Just
don't
help
we
yourself,
pass it?
okay?
It's become
No,
David's
they're
job.
literally four
I'm a mom,
Okay.
so I didn't even question
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
But
it is.
yeah, there may or may not also be an animal or pet involved. But yeah, it's 4 people.
How are they paying for you with 4 people?
They just got their Series A funding, and part of that was trying to get out there, identify a couple of good institutional customers or first kind of clients, and then use that to help with their valuations for Series B, obviously. But they had a lot of very interesting things to say. And they're willing to be a little provocative and interesting. So we're actually kind of planning right now. And what I really like about them, versus, to Mark's point, I've worked with Polycom, I've worked with Juniper, I've run programs for the really big companies. And it really is like running headfirst into a wall. Because as long as they can justify the spend to senior management, they're happy. If they can see really good traffic numbers, and they can see good notable visitors coming in, they can justify the spend that they're making in you and say, well, look, all these notable visitors who are in our target markets are coming in. We're getting, 2,000 plus people a week reading our content. We can justify spending our $15K or however much they're spending with us a month for the program, and they're happy. The little guys don't give any shits about how many people are coming to the site. What they care about is
They can
actual
convert.
sales leads, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and what's cool is too, you don't run into as many of the barriers between sales and marketing because there is none, because the sales guy is normally also the marketing guy.
Yeah.
So when we send things over to them, it's just like, yeah, execute, do it. Like, hey, you need to call this person. Yeah, I'll call them. There's not the same kind of barriers. And that's why it's really exciting working for these small companies. So these guys, we have another small client called Automate that's in the authentication space that has a 4-factor easy-to-use authentication solution through your cell phone. And they move
What are they
quick.
called?
Automate is the other one.
Can you write that down? Automate, like AUTHOMATE.
AUTHO.
Send me an email with that one later.
MAT, yeah.
All right.
It's a really cool solution.
Okay, cool.
And what we're doing for both. So for these guys, we're doing kind of a combination of top of the funnel lead generation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be doing a webinar for them coming up. It's going to be one of 2 webinars. It's either going to be, they work with PBS, so we're going to try to get PBS to do a webinar with them about their cloud management issues.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't work out, they have a really cool thing they want to do about starting your startup for free. So essentially all of the cloud providers will give you like 2-3 months for free
Oh, interesting.
to get you going.
Oh, that's
And if you
clever.
have cloud management in place, you can switch from cloud to cloud. So
Right.
you could effectively
Oh, is that what
get,
they do?
Yeah.
So like if I wanted to move my Salesforce.com and move it, and I decided I wanted to go to Microsoft Dynamics in the cloud, I could like migrate everything over. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Or?
not so
Or
much
not quite.
applications, but workloads. So like let's say you wanted to move, like you were doing dev work in Azure,
Uh-huh.
and you wanted to move from Azure to AWS.
Got it.
Their solution would allow you to do that. It also takes all of the clouds that you have in your company, puts it on one pane of glass,
Ah.
so you can see what you're spending, what the utilization is, so that you can make it more efficient. Because companies are
It's
just
the cloud
bleeding
for the
money.
cloud.
Yeah, it's
Right.
it's a management pain for clouds because companies cannot keep track of.
I gotta track
clouds.
all of my clouds, so I gotta go put that in another.
Yeah,
one.
because
Yeah.
Cloud Sprawl.
Yeah.
so
Cloud Sprawl.
So we're doing
Okay,
top of the
good.
funnel lead generation through the webinars for them.
Yeah.
Also, what's really cool is they've identified some senior leadership at some companies that are like dream clients for them. That they really just don't know if they'd have like a foot in the door kind of thing. So they've kicked them over to us for direct editorial outreach to see if we could build relationships.
So you're
with
doing
those
real
people.
direct outreach.
Yes.
Interesting.
So-
So this is where we start to see some convergence, because typically that's the kind of stuff that we do upstairs,
Mhm.
which is the outsourced appointment setting outsourced sales development. You'll never actually get an appointment with them, right? But you're gonna at least engage the target.
We'll get an appointment, but it's a different expectation of what that
It's
appointment is.
editorial.
Exactly, I totally get it. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
reach out through editorial, build a relationship. I think the process to work with someone and put a piece of content together is like 5 or 6 times.
But that's incredible. I mean, so one of the things that we've learned in our business is if you ever want to win a company and you really want to put some effort behind it, go write a blog about them. If you write a blog article about them, they can't ignore it. I have to pay attention to you, right? I got to approve it and all that kind of stuff. And who doesn't want to have an article written about them? So I got an interesting, just quick sidebar. We own InsideSalesTraining.com. We have done nothing with it, I think. Like, so talk me through that real quick. I'm not actually saying like we're a prospect because I can't afford you yet, but we will be able to. So if we were going to do something with you guys, and we're saying, okay, look, we've got a whole ton of content you guys can repurpose from the content. You guys can get smart on the subject matter by looking at all of our old stuff, because we got webinars and white papers and research papers and all this stuff. And we wanted to build out InsideSalesTraining.com as being, see, like just redirects. It just redirects to our blog right now. Does that make sense?
It does.
What would we do? Like, walk us through
How
your
would you
process.
answer
I think that'd be
question?
helpful for
What
Jeff.
website would you suggest they look at, KJ?
Modern Marketing Today.
Right, of course. Yeah, we talked about that, because we talked about. This is your own.
Correct.
Yeah. Who follows up on these leads, Mark?
Why don't you talk about the methodology behind modern marketing today?
Sure. So basically what I did, well, part of the strategy, like kind of what Ryan was talking about, is if we have somebody that we are, interested in talking to, I can reach out to them and be kind of like, oh, well, I'm Kristen and I'm the editor of this blog and I kind of wanted to see if you'd be interested in doing a Q&A or writing up a piece, or if you'll approve this, because it's about you guys, and that gets your kind of foot in the door, and then you can talk to them and develop a relationship, and
So
eventually.
they eventually ask you, what do you do?
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
And we'll eventually maybe connect with Mark, who goes ahead and puts the ball in the hoop.
How do you convert it from the editorial outreach concept to the let's talk business concept?
Why don't you scroll down, we'll use a specific example. So if
Yeah.
you scroll down, so click on the ultimate guide to tracking ROI. This is a piece that Kristen just published today.
Cool.
And then scroll.
Now this is a blog or a.
So, yeah, it's a blog article post.
Yeah.
So if you scroll down and you click on, so you see it says, according to Steve Barnard, Director of Commercial and Public Sector Marketing at Lenovo.
Yep.
So if you scroll down a little bit, and it says, click here to read more from Steve.
Yep.
There. It's going to take you to the original article.
Yeah.
So this is the path. So again, as we talked about, we look at 2 different types of organizations: field sales groups, global brands, and now emerging growth companies. Those are our 2 primary markets. So Lenovo is a very interesting company to us for a variety of different reasons. Similar to Polycom, similar to NetApp, similar to Juniper, they have a commoditized product technology play, and they're organized by vertical markets. So how do we get into a conversation with the person who's responsible for demand generation in North America? Well, I could call him, but he doesn't know who I am.
That's what we do for a living.
Right, right, and
Yeah.
people don't answer the phones anymore, and it's very difficult to get that kind of customer. I could send them an email,
Sure.
I guess.
Sure.
Or, on behalf of Modern Marketing Today, Kristen could reach out and say, hey, we've heard great things about what Lenovo is doing to drive demand in North America. We'd love to interview you for an article. And oh, by the way, you get to read the story before it gets published, so you're not misquoted or quote something that happens. So this is the resulting piece. And as you can tell, in this article, it's generated more than 1,300 views, which is a good amount of readership.
Yep.
And this article comes out, it gets published, and then I pick up the phone and I call Steve and I say, hey Steve, wow, it was great to see you in Modern Marketing Today. I work closely with Kristen. Wow, you said this really interesting thing about this.
That's 3
I
by
thought
3
you might
research.
want to connect.
They build their own 3x3 research. Do you hear this?
Well, yeah, they start off with reciprocity and then they use 3x3 when they're asked.
They build their. Isn't that crazy?
Like
That's
broken
so
down.
crazy. We'll teach you what that term means in a minute. So that's part of the program today, is to go over that. But this is in our language. So what you're doing is when you reach out to a prospect, you'll learn a term called 3x3 research, which means how do you, identify 3 key pieces of information on the company or contact in 3 minutes of research. So if you're someone who's doing Jeff's job and you're doing a lot of prospecting, you want to have a little bit of pre-call research, but not a ton. Because if you have a ton, you turn into a librarian and you don't do the volume you need. But if you have none, you're a cowboy and you're just shooting from the hip, and that's not going to be effective. So the whole point is, how much can you find in 3 minutes? Which is part of the reason you see this popping up, let me see if it pops up now. I silenced it a minute ago, or if I have to open a new thing. But, where is it? No, it's not going to show up, let's see. You see the little pop-up I had over here? See this?
Yeah.
You guys know what that is? You should,
All the scripts that are running.
yeah, you should install it. It's called Ghostry. See this little ghost? It's a free Chrome extension. It's called Ghostry. And it tells you what's going on, what's running on the page. So if we were going to approach, Polycom, we'd go to their primary homepage.
Yeah.
And this is such a simple thing you guys can.
But they're running Eloqua on the page,
Yeah.
like, why is this not on there?
Right. Accountability.
Genius.
So if we go to Polycom, we see, and they're running all sorts of stuff. Adobe Tag Manager, Adobe Test and Target, Crazy Egg, Demand Base, DoubleClick, Eloqua. So if I was going to target their marketing organization, I would lead the call by saying, hey, I was doing some research on you. I know you guys are running Demand Base and Eloqua on the website. Because I might be calling from a company that's complementary to Demand Base and Eloqua. That's how I get the conversation started. So the thing that you're doing, Mark, that's so clever, is by doing the editorial outreach, you are creating the pre-call research. The turn is what's so interesting. Like, how do you pivot it from being, that's art. How do you pivot from this to this? And you do it by saying, okay, I'm going to write an article about you. Then I'm going to say, I read the article that we wrote about you, and I couldn't help but notice when you said this, which is why I'm reaching out. Like, it's irresistible. And I'll show you in a minute why. So there's a lot of science actually behind why. You just do it in an extremely artful way.
So what we find with modern marketing today, and this is something that we argue to our clients, is that enterprise sales is ultimately still relationship driven.
Yeah.
So how do you use the functionality of marketing automation and CRM? All those things. So we go to the Salesforce. Chris and I went to the Salesforce World Tour thing that we did at the convention center. And Salesforce has got all this great technology, and they make two arguments: that it makes your sales more scalable and efficient. I agree with. And our clients, or Salesforce customers, close more business. And I could see where they could make that argument, but what they fail to address is the fact that they're still very much in part to effective selling, which is what you guys are in the business of. So you could have all of the great tools and technologies in Salesforce, but if your product sucks, your product still sucks. If your salespeople aren't able to connect with prospects, it doesn't matter how great your product is. It's all irrelevant. So you got a great database, but you're not moving deals.
I'll take an average product with a great sales force over a great product with an average sales force.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, so again, what you find with modern marketing today is this is an account-based marketing program. Plus, through the online events and the webinars that we do, all these are promoted on modern marketing today. When we go to events, often we go to an event, not a strategic communications group, but as modern marketing today. So,
Interesting. Okay.
Kristen,
Do you actually have Modern Marketing Today cards?
we don't.
But that's not bad.
Yeah. So like Kristen, something interesting we're working on in the fall is we'll be up in New York at the Financial Times Future of Marketing Summit, because Modern Marketing Today is one of the media sponsors of that event. So the Financial Times
Modern Marketing
recognizes,
Today sponsors things.
well, but it's an in-kind sponsorship,
But
right?
that's still, because you won't get an in-kind sponsorship if you're Strategic Communications Group, but you will if you're Modern Marketing Today because you're a journalist, because it's editorial.
Right. And we're promoting their event and doing a variety of other things.
Do you
as well.
understand? That's so
it's
freaking smart. So can I just play this forward? Because this is how we could do. So hypothetically, we would have InsideSalesTraining.com. We set it up as an online publication. We would hire you guys. You guys would go and write stories about our most wanted targets. So Jeff would be like, okay, here's my top 100 list, and I want to get in with the head of sales for these organizations. You reach out under an editorial premise. You interview them. You write the article about them. Yay, that's awesome. Then he uses that to pivot it into a sales conversation, right? And then when we go to events, we can go to events as Inside Sales Training, which is you're going to get sponsorship in kind, swap deals all the time.
Right. So we
Super
we go
smart.
to different events, and it really is, you're put in a position of credibility.
You're a safe guy at the event.
Right.
Oh, I've got a press badge. It's safe. You can talk to me about whatever. It's cool. Versus like you're trying to sell to them. It's like,
Right.
whoa,
So what's fascinating about the model is, so you hit it on with Lenovo is a good example, right? So all we did was create an interaction based on perceived third-party credibility in an environment that we own and control. No one's ever called us on it. Like the guy, Steve, he was never like, wait a second, so did you write this article about me because you wanted to get it? No one ever, it's all based on mutual value and that sort of thing. So what Ryan was referring to before about, the Polycom Public Sector View, where you saw their partners involved in that, their partners pay to be involved in it.
Right.
So
they're paying Polycom, they're funding the program, right?
we haven't really sought to monetize modern marketing today, but we could come to our partners, we could come to Voice-Site VP and say, you know what, we're great partners, we got this site Modern Marketing Today, we'd love to get you involved. What if we just have some sort of modest sponsorship fee that you pay on a quarterly basis? Well, you add up 4 or 5 of those, and then suddenly your own partners are funding your demand generation program. So that's the model that we have. So you can hear, it takes, people have to think about it,
That's actually good.
right? But marketers, for some, this is the biggest frustration that we have, well, I don't get. We even have clients, to be honest with you, that I don't think they know exactly what they bought from us. I think they're like, web to sales, that sounds cool. And then we get into programs where it's like, well, okay, I don't get what it is that you do. And I'm just
Well, see,
fascinated.
if everything you just
Would you say that's
described,
accurate? I mean, don't you have clients that
everything you just described loses all of its value if you don't do the term the right way.
Yeah. Well, what I continue to hear is that the marketing people don't have a relationship good enough with sales to know how to direct us. Say, these are the people to go after, these are the people to interview. So we hear that numerous times. We'll also hear sales is very protective of their leads and territory and don't want people running around doing these things, despite the fact that at the end of the day, if we're doing our job right, they should never really even connect what we're doing really.
You've got
with-
the ultimate Chinese wall going on.
Yeah, and so we hear that a lot as well. Yeah, so those are 2 of the concerns that I hear pretty frequently. It's just, not being able to give you direction because we don't talk to sales. Sales doesn't want you to go out and do this sort of thing. And then on the flip side is when we do get stuff, so like the top of the funnel stuff, what's happening to it, who's following up with it. Yeah, so it can be extraordinarily frustrating. But when it works well, I mean, we stood up a program, it was a short-lived program for a company called Tazoo. And what they were doing is they were running webinars and kicking us all the people who didn't attend. So the people who signed up and attended, they sent to sales, and the people who signed up and didn't attend, they sent to us. So just reach out and see if you can get an editorial. Well, we were actually able to set up meetings with, who'd you get? You got like North Face?
North Face.
I got,
Yeah, that was a good one.
I got SunGuard,
Yeah.
the huge software / managed services company, and we were able to appropriately pass those over to sales just by we
That's
hear
good.
it. So not like how Mark did it, where the salesperson
Right.
reached out, but we made the introduction where he went, hey, by the way, one of our sponsors is this company Tazoo.
Right.
They read the article, are interested in some of the things that you're doing. Would you be open to a conversation with them? And then we put them
Ultimately,
together.
you should
but then the chief marketing officer killed the program because she didn't get it.
Yeah, she did.
Well, yeah, but maybe if you packaged it from the very beginning where you had some people who were doing sales development on behalf of your clients.
Well, this is the purpose of this meeting now, and so let's take the last few minutes to talk about this.
Yeah.
We're more and more as an organization, how we generate our revenue is the most commoditized part of our business. So the creation of the site, it's not that it's not important, but the creation of the site, the creation of the content, the promotion to drive readership and community engagement, we get price pressure. There are companies in India and Eastern Europe that will charge our clients 3 cents per word, right? And you could argue, well, their content isn't as good as ours, but, what kind of argument?
Losing content,
Right,
losing
right.
battle.
There are, WordPress development organizations, again, that are internationally based. So I've had people say to me, well, wait a second, so I'm gonna pay 50 grand over the next 6 months, but I've got this WordPress company that's in the Ukraine, and they'll do all of this for a tenth of what they'll do it for. Right, so you have those types of price pressures. So for us as an organization, we have to continue to pivot our expertise into the sales engagement part, helping our clients navigate that. And so I want to make sure, like some of the folks here who are working with clients on a day-to-day basis, what are some things, like when you go in and you talk to a prospective customer or client of yours, or you're working with a client, there's a tactical function that you play, but there's also an advisory one. And so do you have any top-line recommendations, just over the next 10 to 15 minutes, some different trends, some different issues that you are seeing
Cool, what I was
Because
going.
we're not gonna do
What I was
what
going to
Foresight
do-
BP does is, but
No.
we have to listen, we have to be able to listen for the right things, to be able to say, ah, well,
What I was gonna do is I was gonna just share a little bit of the training program with you if you wanna do that.
yeah, that would be great.
Do we wanna dial in now for that? Didn't you say someone wanted to dial in?
Oh, no, I'm just gonna show.
Do you wanna just record it that way and I can skip clear slide?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. just
And then
for
you
the
can
sake.
send this to me, correct?
And by the way, we've got another half hour after this, or is this, are we, and I think I'm open until 2, I wanna say, but.
Yeah,
You
we're gonna
have a
ask
call.
these guys to roll in about 15, 20 minutes, because
Okay.
everyone's got different things going on, and we're gonna stay, Chris and I are gonna stay until 2.
Perfect.
We've got a tactical discussion to talk about.
And hey, real quick, Ryan, can you talk to me about, I heard you say that you'll do 5 to 6 touch points, doing editorial outreach. Um, Can you just, I guess, briefly just run me through what those touch points are?
Yeah, first you have to, it's kind of like reverse media relations. We're the media,
Uh-huh.
but we're pitching a story idea to them and asking them to be our subject matter expert. So there's kind of like the story pitch. If they respond to us and say that they want to do it, we put questions together for them and send them the questions.
Is it-
And
So if yes, then sending them questions is your second touch?
yep, and also identifying how they want to proceed, either podcast, written Q&A. If it's a written Q&A, we can do it either with they email us answers back, or we do it over the phone. So we establish that. From there, we actually conduct the interview. 9 times out of 10, they choose phone interviews. So we actually conduct the interview. So now at this point, we're actually on the phone with them. From there, we take that content, we do a transcription of the interview, and we author the post. In some cases, it's more than one, because a lot of these interviews will go long.
Who transcribes your interview?
We do.
We do.
Really?
We need to
There's
fix
a
that.
really, really good service, it's super cheap, and it's local, called transcribe.me.
Oh,
Transcribe.me, it's a local guy in Arlington who started it, and it's offshored with specific people that only work with him, but they've got like incredibly accurate for much, much less than the average human-based one.
Yeah, because that takes up way too much of our time.
Yeah.
to load other ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we transcribe it. I think we're up to.
We use it for our webinars.
4 maybe, yeah. So we transcribe it, put the content together, send it for their approval, which is part of one of the things that we offer them when we first reach out, is say, hey, we'll send it so you can approve it, so you feel confident.
Do they usually run it by legal or no?
It depends on the person. We have had people, like when federal government is involved, we've had them run it by their PAs, but never legal. I haven't heard legal before.
So objections would be, I can't do that, I guess maybe legally, or I guess I can do it.
Yeah.
My organization won't let
Mostly
me,
it's-
or,
Mostly
Yeah.
it's just, I don't think I have anything compelling to tell you, is generally, I
And
think one of the
that's-
common ones that I see.
The way-
Either they won't get back to you, or if they do, they'll say, I'm not authorized to speak. Sometimes you wind up with that, the whole I'm not authorized to talk about this kind of thing. And you run into that every now and again. But yeah, for the most part, I think either they don't get back to you, to multiple outreaches, or you actually get them, you hear from them, and they're excited to do it, because it's an opportunity to build their own personal brand. So they review the content, and then we publish the content, and then we send them another touch point that says, hey, your content's been published, you can find it here. We're going to be promoting it in different social networks. Here's some sample status updates so you can promote it yourself. So now we've taken these people that we're trying to sell to, we're actually turning them into brand proponents out there, promoting our content and our site to direct more people that they're connected with who probably have similar positions to them back to our content. And at that point, I think I'm up to like 5 or 6. And if
Right.
if we pulled multiple pieces of content out of one interview, we do it again.
and let's eliminate right now the challenge of not getting a response. How long does it take from, so step 1 was story pitch, all the way down to showing them the results and further promoting. So your 6 steps, how long does that usually take?
It depends on how responsive they are and how quickly we can turn the content around. I've said we've probably done it in 72 hours to most maybe a week, 2 weeks.
Were you gonna say something?
Oh, I was gonna say, just in an initial outreach, Jeff, one of the ways that you can really kind of avoid having them be like, no, I don't have anything to say, is have a good in with them. So like when I contacted North Face, for example, the woman who I spoke to just so happened to be speaking at a conference coming up like a month or two after that. So it was perfect. It's like, hey, how you doing? You're really active in this circle. And oh, by the way, can I talk to you about your upcoming conference appearance?
Sure.
And people love to talk about themselves.
And Steve, right, and Steve's about to show you,
We'll show
you're using 3x3 to stroke their ego.
Yeah,
And-
so.
Exactly, yeah.
So this is an example of where we've done the same thing, although kind of in a much, we do a poor man's version of what you do and very infrequently, but every time we do it, it works. It's amazing. So we wrote an article here about NetSuite, and NetSuite's a big client of ours. They were already a client of ours, but they became a much bigger client of ours after that, because what happens is this circulates all throughout the organization, and even though we were working with some junior people in the company, some junior leaders, now all of a sudden the big, the senior executives start seeing this as well, because this is like positive press for NetSuite, and all of a sudden the senior executives know who Vorset VP is, whereas before they didn't know us from Adam, even though they were paying the bill. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So that's another thing you guys might want to talk about, is it's not just about branding and web to sales and all that sort of stuff. It's also about getting traction with organizations that you already have in your funnel or your existing clients, but getting it higher up. Because senior executives tend to look at this sort of stuff, but they won't ever talk to your sales guy. Make sense? All right, so let me take you to this. Guys, that was really helpful. So I'm going to give you a peek in the window for the program, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so if you want, I don't know if you want to hit the light there, Mark, just to your left. Yeah, you got it. All right, so this is Persuasive Prospecting, which is one of our flagship programs, and it's all about, you'll see what it's all about. It's a copyrighted program, so this is copyrighted. In other words, you can't make photocopies of it, all that kind of stuff, and people pay a license. So hypothetically, if Polycom, eventually we work with their inside sales team, each of their people would have a license paid for them. Make sense? So our company is based on science, data, and research. We did talk a little bit about art before. The way you do that is artful. There's science within what you're doing on the term that I'll show you in a second here. And then we talk about, this is the mission of our business, is to become the sales training company of record for the top of the funnel. So that if you think of all these different sales training companies are all bottom of funnel. Miller, Hyman, Richardson, Corporate Executive Board, Challenger Sale, Force Management, Sandler, all bottom of the funnel. They all presume you have an appointment in the first place. And then the other thing we do that's unique is we get on the phone and make live calls. And then now we're pre-recording them for the classroom. So I can, if we have time, I'll play a couple examples of calls. I'm going to fast forward here to, what do I want to take you to? We bring a lot of research and data into it, but this is an interesting slide. Because at any point in time, 3% of your client's marketplace is in an active buying cycle. So at any given time, 3% of Polycom's potential marketplace is in an active buying cycle. 56% of their marketplace is not ready to begin an active buying cycle. 40% of them are poised to begin looking. So let me ask you, of all the people in this room, how many of you are actively in the market to buy a mattress? Did you just buy one? Okay. Right, so it would have been one, but now it's already gone. Not a big surprise, right? It's 3%. We don't have enough people in the room. I've asked this question in a room full of 100 people. You know how many hands go up? Okay, how many of you are not actively in the market to buy a mattress, but how many of you are saying, my mattress kind of sucks. I'm not really a fan of it. I'm not in love with it right now. Okay, 2 of us, 3. Now, in that case, it kind of went up even more. All right, so that was even more, but typically speaking, again, I can ask that in a room full of 100 people. You know how many hands go up? 30 to 50% of the hands go up. And then how many of you are totally satisfied, not ready to begin an active buying cycle, not poised to begin looking everybody else? They say I have to. This is the reason that our company exists, because the 3% I can have trained monkeys go after. They're people who want to buy. Make sense? How do I get to the 40% that are poised to begin looking, that are susceptible to looking? And that's where this comes in. And in the top of the funnel, we don't sell. That's what people do wrong. Instead, we're going for the appointment. So I'm going to take you through to, so the model is, how do we gain access to the right people at the right accounts? You said it before, it's harder to get people on the phone in this day and age. Guess what? It's not impossible. We've got a lot of data to prove it.
Really?
Oh, not at all. We get people on the phone all the time.
On their office lines? Are you calling on mobile?
Mobile definitely, but office, yes,
Right.
too. Yeah, you'd be shocked at how much you can talk to people on their cell phones.
I don't know, man, I spent a lot of time on the phone. I'm trying to think. I actually did have someone answer their phone today while I was sitting in that room. Maybe it was a good vibe from Foresight.
Maybe.
Other than that, like a lot of time, I would say 30% of the time now I call and people haven't even set up their voicemail.
The number
It's like
of
that
dials,
automated-
the number of dials to connect continues to get worse, but you absolutely can get people on the phone.
Hmm.
Okay, it's average now, it's gotten to 12 to 25 dials per connect. If you're at the C-level CIOs or somebody like that, it's 100 dials per connect in some cases. So gain access, generate curiosity, establish credibility, gain commitment. So we're doing this over the phone, over email, over social media. It's all communication method, it's not just about the phone. All right, and okay, this is also interesting. If you look at people who are doing lead qualification or prospecting, the best people will divide their activity into two different activities. One is research and preparation, and the other one is execution. So research and preparation, we're talking about how do I prepare this thing we call a prospecting hot list. This is basically like the people I should go after. So for example, you did this and you didn't even know it. You looked at all the people who read, filled out the form. You kind of went, this is garbage, ooh, North Face, like that's one I'm going to pursue. I'm actually going to spend some time. You put, quote unquote, put them on your hot list. Now imagine you're doing this at like industrial strength scale and volume, like Jeff does it. You might have 150 people, 150 North Faces on your hot list. That's how you can crank it out. You're prepared. You gotten a direct line, 3x3 research, you form something called a hypothesis of need. We'll go back to the 3x3 research. So we first talk about, I'm not going to skip right account, that's all stuff you guys as marketers know, that's like an ideal customer profile, you understand that concept. Then we finding the right people at the accounts is interesting. Because what most of your clients are doing, the ones that actually call to follow up on the leads, guess what they do? They call to follow up on the person who filled out the form. In many cases, the person who filled out the form is too junior. So what they should do is they should use that information to find the person who's further up the org chart, who's more senior. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the lead is a clue. So finding the right context on LinkedIn or through the phone becomes important. So we teach in the program all this crazy stuff on LinkedIn that you wouldn't even believe if you saw it. Things like how to see all the private profile records. Although LinkedIn has since revealed them, they just changed, but recently, and you still find them sometimes. Things like how to mine for second-degree connections by account. So rather than just going in randomly to Citrix, I'm going to go find a second-degree connection at Citrix. And then I'm going to reference my mutual connection to get in the door. Right? Hey Bob, I just noted with interest that you and I both share a common acquaintance in Markhausen. That's going to get me in higher probability of the time than if I didn't do it. We teach people, do you guys know Boolean searching? Okay, so this is crazy. So it's got to be in capitals, capital and, capital or, capital not. And the way it works, I'm going to skip this, I'm going to go to that. If you go into LinkedIn, you can do this yourself, and go into the advanced search and type in business intelligence in quotation marks, capital and then SAP. The quotation marks is searching for both of those terms inclusive. So basically what I'm doing is I'm dramatically limiting the results. As you can see, I was looking at Procter & Gamble here. So what I'm saying is only show me the people who work at Procter & Gamble right now. See Procter & Gamble current? They work here right now, and they have business intelligence somewhere in their profile. The words have to be together, not apart, and they have SAP. That's a pretty specific search. That's a search that the average salesperson doesn't know how to do, and is not particularly good at doing. And then also how to find stuff on the phone. So there's all these places you can call into organizations, switchboard operators, administrative assistants, IT help desk, the random employee, all these people in a company that have incredible amounts of information. My favorite is if you ever call a switchboard in America and they won't help you, and it's a big global company, find the Irish headquarters. Call Ireland. Friendliest people in the world. Most helpful people in the world. They have access to the same directory as everyone else. They'll give you the cell phone numbers of the people in America. They're literally super, like, awesome. And they haven't been, in many cases, instructed to say, like, you can't give that stuff out. So it's remarkable how much information is out there if you know how to find it efficiently. And that's the name, that's, again, because think about it, we're preparing our hot list, we're building our hot list in order to take the leads that you guys are generating for your clients and get them to a point where you're gonna be able to get an appointment with them, guess what you have to do? Either get them on the phone or get them to respond to an email, right? That's the name of the game.
I didn't know about that, Iron. I find the Midwest tends to be better than the United States. The least friendly is New York, New Jersey.
Oh, for sure.
You're not lying.
What's that?
So you're not lying.
No, I once had someone tell me, it was a New York Maine switchboard, that he would come and beat me to death with my own phone. It's like a guy that answers.
You'll end up in the Meadowlands.
Yeah.
I'm gonna skip this section, but just one thing that's worth noting is part of the reason it's so hard to get people on the phone is if you don't have direct lines, it's harder. So we've done more research, like literally real research at Foresight on direct lines and the value of direct lines. And what we've learned is it takes on average 17 dials per connect if you go through a switchboard. On average, it's 12 dials to connect if you go through a direct line. But it's also a lot faster. Because if I dial a list of pure direct lines, I can just dial, no one there, hang up, dial, no one there, hang up, dial, no one there, hang up, dial, and it just like, boom, crank them out. Versus if I have to go to the switchboard for all of those and do dial by name directories and deal with Edna and all this stuff, it's like a disaster. So when you actually add it up, there's a total correlation, there still is, we measure it. There's a correlation between the percentage of direct lines you have on your hot list versus the number of appointments you're able to generate a month. It's a perfectly straight line. I'm going to skip the rest of this. But the biggest reason is because it looks different on call ID. This is the fun thing I wanted to get you to as soon as I can get you there. And by the way, in the program, we teach people how to get direct lines. And then people do exercises. So if you're a sales rep sitting in one of our training courses, you would go and get a direct line. And afterwards, you're going to come in and you're going to go, I can't believe it. When I phrased it the way you told me to phrase it, I actually got a direct line. It actually worked. So whenever you call a switchboard, don't say, hi, this is Steve from Foresight VBP. Hi, can I get the direct line from Mark Hausman? That doesn't work. And instead you say, hi, I'm calling to verify the spelling of the name for Mark Hausman. Is it two N's or one? It's two? Okay, great. And what's his extension number? How do you dial that directly as a 10-digit number? Who does he report to? What's his cell phone number? All this kind of information. Now, sometimes they give it to you and sometimes they don't. But you won't know unless you ask. I'll get to this and then we'll wrap it up here. Oh, by the way, this is kind of fun too. Have you ever heard your call is being answered by Audix? Or sorry, Cisco Unity voicemail. There are voicemail codes that we've mapped, that we've figured out. So if you ever hear your call is being answered by Audix, and write this down next time you do this, your call is being answered by Audix, punch in **6. And it will say, enter last name followed by #. You type in Kristen Gennaro, it says, Kristen Gennaro, extension 4237. And it literally tells you the extension number, which you can turn into a direct line for Kristen in that voicemail system. So these are all the things. I'll give you a quick walkthrough before we walk out. You'll see 25, 30 people upstairs doing this work all the time. If you want to eat when you're doing pay-for-performance appointment setting, this is what Marcus does all day. If you want to eat when you're doing pay-for-performance appointment setting, you get good at this stuff real fast.
I bet.
Yeah. All right, this is the cool stuff. This is what I want to share with you. So 3x3 research. Learn how to do pre-call research to pique the curiosity. This will help you in your life, right? And what was your name again?
Danielle.
Danielle, yeah, Danielle. So Danielle, what you were saying before around I like a hook. I'm going to give you a different term for a hook. I'm going to call it 3x3 research. So this guy is named Daniel Kahneman. Have you ever heard of a book called Thinking, Fast and Slow? Does that ring a bell? No? Okay. He's a PhD in economics at Princeton. And in this book, Thinking Fast and Slow, he outlines that everyone is in one of two modes of operation, something called System 1 and something called System 2. When you're in System 1, you're not really paying attention to what's happening. You're almost sleepwalking through life. System 1 is the reason that you can drive a car, listen to the radio, and have your cell phone at the same time and be okay. Now think about when you first started driving a car. What was that like?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like this, right? You're in System 2 the whole time. You had to be because you haven't actually done something called writing heuristics in your head. Heuristics are rules or mental shortcuts in your head, all right? So when you're in System 1, your thinking is very fast. I'm making snap decisions about the world around me and I'm not really considering them. When I'm in System 2, my thinking slows down and the rational part of the brain kicks in. And there are actually physiological changes that happen in someone's body, like the pupil dilation, the skin galvanic reflex, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to give you a couple of games to illustrate this. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 games. You have to think of the answers in your head. Don't say them. Got it? All right, so Mary's mother had 4 daughters, April, May, June, and? So Mary's mother had 4 daughters, April, May, June, and? All right, a ball and a bat cost $1.10. The bat is $1 more than the ball. How much is the ball? A ball and a bat are $1.10. The bat is $1 more than the ball. How much is the ball? And then how many of each animal did Moses have on the ark? How many of each animal did Moses have on the ark? All right, let's go to the top. Mary's mother had 4 daughters, April, May, June, and?
Mary.
Okay, how many of you said July? Raise your hand, be honest. So did I when I first heard it, right? What did you say?
Mary.
Why?
Mary's mother.
Because Mary's mother. Here's what's happening in your brains for those of you who didn't get it right, which was, by the way, me the first 5 times I heard it until I finally got it right. Your brain leaves out critical information. It only focuses on the thing it wants to focus on. In this case, the pattern. April, May, June, and your brain is saying, I know, July! Guess what? That's not the right answer. And it's also not a common female name. Mary's mother, oh, now it is. Mary's mother, the daughter is who? Mary. Okay, ball and a bat cost $1.10. The bat is $1 more than the ball. How much is the ball? Nobody even wants to try. What did you think right off the bat?
It's 5 cents.
Okay, it is 5 cents, but what do you always say? I even heard you say
I said 10 cents.
You said 10 cents, right? Okay, so here's what's happening in your head, and I could do the math to show you. Because sometimes it
Alvin,
trips people up.
our heads work the same, man.
The ball and a bat are $1.10. The bat is $1 more than the ball. First of all, you left out the more, right? So what you in your head are going, ball and a bat, well then it must be $1 and $1.10. No, if it was $1 and the bat was $1, then the difference would be 10 cents. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that the ball and a bat are $1.10, so it's 5 cents for the ball, $1.05 for the bat. That difference is $1. I don't think I did that right, but you get the idea. That difference is not that, but ignore that. Okay? And then the last one, how many of each animal did Moses have on the ark? Noah had the ark. All right, so, and this is one of the most fun things in the program because it illustrates 3x3 research and the power of, so what does this have to do with prospecting? Everything. So how do we, because curiosity, prospecting is all about curiosity. The reason that you guys are successful is because of this concept, but you never knew it. You never had the science behind it. You never knew the psychology behind it. There's literally, this is it's not even psychology, this is neuroscience. You're either in system 1 or system 2, and you're almost never in system 2. So the reason it works is because if you can bring contextual information about them back to them, it generates curiosity. That's your hook. I saw you're speaking at a conference. I read an article you wrote. I did some research on your company. I learned this is one of your strategic initiatives from your CEO this year. So we teach them, how do we bring this contextual information to break them out of system 1 and into system 2? So stuff like secondary connection. I noted with interest that you and I are both connected through Marcus Rostad. Relevant social media posts. Just simply that they had shared something through their social network. I saw your last tweet. We'll get them in the system too. Encoder video associations. Just by virtue of the fact that they're a member of an association, you could potentially get them in the system too. All right, common groups on LinkedIn. Another easy one. Previous employers. Hey, I happen to see that you used to work at Polycom. Polycom's one of our clients. That's why I'm reaching out. System 2. You're right, I did used to work at Polycom. Right? Current projects and initiatives, information on the company or organization, what's their business or mission, if they're one of your clients, executive changes. This is a big one. Executive changes is huge, as you learn. So an incredible amount of discretionary money is spent every year in the United States economy from an executive that's in their first 100 days.
Absolutely.
Was your marketer first 100 days?
Yeah.
Yep. So you monitor this. And then when it happens, you use it and you pounce to get the meeting. Current processes and systems, like I mentioned before, the fact that they run Eloqua, which we can see through Ghostery. Ghostery tells us they're running Eloqua. Great. Hey, Mark, the reason I'm reaching out, I saw that I took a look at your website, great site, by the way, and I saw you guys are running Eloqua. All right? So you want to hear a real quick call, and then we can end it?
Absolutely.
So here's how this comes together. I'm going to play a call from Adaptive Insights. Actually, you know what? I'm not. I'm gonna play a call from Optimize Lady.
Jeff, are those your kids?
Oh, yeah, my crew
It's
there.
driving your OCD crazy, isn't it?
Well, no, it's
What is it?
well, I'm saying it
That's
pisses me
squishy.
off. No, that has nothing to do with it. But like how you guys are able to find so much information, because we'll
Oh, that.
send what I feel like is gold to some of our clients. Like we'll go in. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Like, we'll go into the back end of our analytics, and I'll see that an organization will come to one of our blog sites, read every single thing that we wrote on, say, telehealth. Will go to the resource center, click on the premium download, and maybe not download it. And then I'll do a little bit of research into the organization and say it's a mental health facility located in the middle of nowhere like Kansas that could probably really use, video teleconferencing for telemental health initiatives. And I'll kick that over to Polygon. And what we'll hear back from the salespeople is there's no name. You didn't get me a name of the person to sell to.
They don't have a prospect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not using that lead as a clue, they want that
They-
lead.
yeah.
They want you to
as
put it in
gold.
their lap.
They want a name and
So
the
this
phone.
is the point that,
But we could easily do
right,
that.
so this is the point that
Charge more money.
is consistent with what we talked about. We could use that and charge more money if they cared. They don't care, it's fascinating to us. that
Well,
most-
somebody cares.
Yeah, somebody cares.
There's some
Right,
point
right, that's
where
right.
sales and marketing hits a branch here, and they're sitting there and going, we run all these marketing programs, and the salespeople complain about the leads. What the hell's wrong with these people, right?
Right.
There's someone that you have to get to that level that frankly, we don't get to that level.
Right.
Gentlemen.
So like, the action item that I want to make, or the reason why I do this is twofold. So Ryan, with a lot of your focus now with Alphamate and Divi Cloud, and maybe, this third company that hopefully will come together for July, they have the chance to build a sales function from the ground up the right way. And so like Divi Cloud and Alphamate, and then the third companies called VIMed, are all now past the, are we a real business? They're in the Series A where, okay, we are a real business, we've raised some money, we've got to get to a Series B. The way that we get to a Series B is by demonstrating that we can build a pipeline, right? So we have product, build a pipeline, great. So now that when we ask for some serious money, because we're going to hire 25 sales reps or whatever it is. So it's at this point that they have the opportunity with the salespeople that they have to put it in place right.
Correct. That's actually one of the services we offer is something called management immersion.
Right.
Where a company called Optimize was just in here the other day, another Bay Area A/B testing for mobile,
Mm-hmm.
and had all of their management team, including their CEO, sitting right here in this room, and we helped them figure out what does my sales development organization look like, world class.
So even more than that, you guys run public training as well
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So, as you talk to Peter and you talk to John, and it's like, okay, now they're getting ready to hire their first couple sales reps. That's when you say, you know what, let's give you the foundation so you start it the right way. So we're not trying to retrofit shit into an organization that already does it this way, and it's like, okay, well now you gotta get up to the senior most person to affect change. So that's kind of the big thing. So even, a lot of times, even if it makes sense to have a Peter come to one of their public training sessions, have, John participate, in one of those public training sessions, I think there would be a lot of value there.
Yeah.
The second thing is for our larger clients, we have to understand when we're hearing something that just doesn't make sense and how to bring foresight to the table as a resource. And Jeff can do we don't need to tee it up for them, we'll close it, but Jeff, tell me, you just need to hear, hey, here's someone that you need to talk to at Polycom, and here's a little bit of information that you can use so you can have a credible first conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to give me a name, any information that you give me as well, intel, I'd love. I can find some, I'm sure, as well. But we want, yeah, so that the name is yes, if you either made an intro to me or just gave me the name.
So we have a vested interest in having it be aligned with our program. 'Cause
Right.
this is what happens. So we get hired based on this web to sales premise of we can help you identify, nurture, and close sales-ready leads more quickly. That's what we're selling, right? So then we get hired, and then we get into an execution, and we have trouble getting the client to actually move on the sales-ready lead piece.
Right.
So then we get to the end of 6 months, and we have a review of our program, and they say, well, wait a second. You guys said sales-ready leads. And we say, yes, look at all these sales-ready leads that you didn't act on. And that somehow becomes our fault, right?
That's a super conversation to be in, isn't it?
It's a surreal one. So we want to be able to have a resource where it's like, look, let's not lipstick the pig here. We're coming up, we're teeing up some really interesting opportunities. Candidly, we don't see you moving on that.
I'll call them really interesting clues. I would just change the language a little bit. I'd say, look, we're bringing you.
We don't like to use the word clue.
Okay, fair enough. We're bringing you some really interesting leads, and there are undoubtedly numerous opportunities, like opportunities that should be in salespeople's funnels, that because there's not follow-up, they will never hit a salesperson's funnel. Leads don't convert themselves into opportunities on their own. There is a universal truth. This is another one of our terms is shared truth or universal truth. There is a universal truth. Universal truth is like you can't deny it. It's a fact. Here's a fact. No opportunity starts without a conversation. So if no one's having a conversation with the lead, how the hell are you going to get them into an opportunity?
Right.
It's just a fact. So you've got to get people who know how to take these leads, use these leads as a means to identify the opportunity. And that's what, like, here's our client list to give you a little bit of a sense of the sort of companies, you know. Yep, Blackboard, HP, Apex, Acton, Citrix, Jive, Progress Software, OSI, NetSuite, Ultimate Software, Demo, Version 1, Verifim, DMC, Vikai, Talent, Concur, they're owned by SAP now. Adaptive Insights, Curvature, Level 3, Verizon, you know. So it's like exactly the kind of companies that you're working with. Serious Decisions is a client, which is super fun. Every single one of their people goes through our training. And then some real odd ones too, like roofing systems. You would never think it in a million years.
Everyone needs a roof.
But they're starting to think more like, because they're cutting out the distributors and they're going directly to corporations and they're starting to do demand gen. You actually might want to look at some point on people like the Versacos of the world and the Sappi, they do fine-coated paper. Because they're trying to do these kind of things like, you know, roofingbestpractices.com.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. We could lead our roofing practice.
I'm sure that'd be super exciting for you. The Post is a client, or used to be a client, but not much anymore. Clarabridge, you know them out
I'm
there?
making one of those, y'all.
So, did you ever get any traction with Clarabridge, by the way?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, you get the idea.
Okay, so I appreciate your time. We're gonna stick around
Put a
and
ball in.
spend some additional time with you.
Here's what I would recommend all of us do, because I feel like this is one of those things where coming out of these meetings, this is the second time we've done this.
Right, well, I'm gonna give in our follow-up, I'm gonna give you some specific guidance.
In the best of intentions, by the way, I got a lead for you, which I'll give you right now, but in the best of intentions, let's just subscribe to each other's blogs. We'll subscribe to Modern Marketing Today.
We already looked at your blog, don't worry about that.
Okay, you read the Voice IP one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so like we need to.
It's in my newsletter.
Go, thank you. So we need to, and then every time we see that pop up, that'll be kind of a reminder of like, oh yeah, I haven't sent a lead your way, right? Because I had this conversation with this guy Dharma Shah this week that you need to get that lead.
We can talk about that.
Yeah.
Do we have time to listen to the call?
Yeah, you want to get a call?
Yeah.
I actually,
You can go ahead.
yeah, for 2 o'clock. so-
Okay.
No, go ahead. You can go.
I apologize. Well,
You can leave.
Well, that's what you got.
I can't give the phone number out, but well, it would be here, but she had her extension 210, but I can't give her work set up.
Oh, no, of course not.
She could give
Okay,
you her
so
phone number, but then she
it's
gave you her phone number.
0032 extension 210, you said?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
great.
switch.
Does she, and do you know?
It's just a really bad week.
Sorry.
Oh, really?
Next meeting next week, everyone's preparing this week, and they'll be gone next week.
Oh, okay, so she's heads down, going crazy right now.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, no, I totally understand. You know what, maybe it might even be something that's better for someone on her team. Do you know if she has a direct report who does digital marketing on the website in particular?
For e-commerce or for our stores?
It could be both. It could both be the website for the stores or the website for e-commerce, probably more e-commerce.
I'll transfer you to that manager.
Who was that one, real quick, for you?
Alexandra Filipona.
Alexandra, ooh, how do you spell that one?
Philippona.
And she reports directly to Sonia?
Yes.
When Alex picks
Oh,
up,
okay,
it'll black
thank
through
you.
what's happening, so you
Okay.
can actually see, I'll point to what's happening in the call, okay? You can literally see it.
Hello, Alexandra speaking.
Yes, Alexandra, Steve Richard from Optimizely, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
I'm doing well, thanks. Do you have a quick moment? Or are you in the middle of something?
If I can call you back in just a minute because I'm actually on the other line. Can I have your number?
Yeah, sure, 703-340-8905. It'll only take 3 minutes.
Okay, just hold on the line. I'm just gonna get off the phone with the other person. Just 1 second.
Sure.
I think she comes right back, they go fast.
Okay, I'm all yours. How
That was fast.
I just hung up. I was waiting for, I was on hold.
I was going to say, wow, you talk fast. So I was sent your direction as being in charge of digital marketing under Sonia in her organization. Is that right?
Title and responsibility.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't catch where you were calling from.
Yeah, my name is Steve. I'm from a company called Optimizely.
Okay, what do you guys do?
And so before I get into that, I just want to make sure that, and you oversee digital marketing, is that correct?
I'm e-commerce manager.
More e-commerce?
Yeah.
Does that include the website for e-com?
So I'm asking some questions about
Basically,
responsibilities.
I manage the e-commerce of the website.
That's what I wanted to know.
Okay, excellent. Okay, then it probably does make sense. So I was doing some research on your site, by the way, very nice looking site. And I understand you're doing Google Analytics, you're running various Facebook Connect and Rocket Fuel and some other applications like that. Is that correct? Okay, and you oversee all that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I got to the right person. That's half the battle. So the reason I'm calling, so our company, we're having a lot of conversations with marketers who want to run sophisticated A/B testing, sort of like Amazon does, but they don't have that technical resource, technical prowess. They don't want to be dependent on people who know HTML and CSS to be able to run really sophisticated A/B tests that have statistical significance. And that's the reason I was calling, is to see if we can schedule some time for you to show you how you can do that and essentially get the tools that the big boys have for marketers that don't have all of those technical prowess.
I don't see why not. So what would you do? You just run me through.
Yeah. So I can explain. So it's A/B, essentially A/B testing.
What do you do?
I'll give you an example from a story from.
A/B testing on what?
You can really A/B test anything. I think it's sort of illustrative. So do you know Grand Theft Auto, that video game?
Yeah.
So leading up to the release of Grand Theft Auto, they used Optimizely to create different versions of landing pages, and some versions included a discount, and other versions didn't include a discount. So here's a fascinating thing. After running an A/B test with statistical significance, one of the winning landing pages didn't include the discount. So what they learned from this is ultimately they could charge a higher price point simply because their landing page was so well optimized for that. So that's an example of how you can run an A/B test without having to know CSS, HTML, go through big painful, switchovers on the website, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, the reason I'm a little bit silent is just because I don't know how relevant it would be for our website at this point in time.
Subjecting a
It's
little bit.
honestly good to have you as a contact. I just think we've just launched 2 years ago, so I don't know. I don't really know how relevant A/B testing would be for us at this point. At the moment, we're just sort of doing a little bit of A/B testing with our emails. But in terms of the website in itself, I don't want to waste your time either and have you go through everything and me be like, oh, well, this isn't relevant to us. So that's why I was just sort of trying to get a better overview of, have you worked with smaller companies?
Absolutely, yeah. No, this is in fact, that's our sweet spot. So smaller companies that don't have the time, the energy, the resources to do big sweeping tests. Let me ask you this question too. This might give an example. So you mentioned before you're running some email campaigns. And I would take it you're driving people to a landing page. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And then on that, and is it a landing page where you're trying to get them to convert to buy one of your cosmetic
See
products?
how I've earned the right to ask questions now? Like, we're in a real conversation off of a cold call.
Yeah.
Totally
Okay,
cold.
exactly. So here's how it works. And you know, ultimately we can schedule some time to take you through it, but usually the next step what we do, because it is so
So I'm
simple,
gonna skip
is
the elements of the conversation.
So the moment we've got a pretty good grasp of our business, I think as we've got a lot of,
for the e-com.
I don't really know what the answer is to that. I haven't really given it much thought.
Or maybe it's something you're already going to run an A/B test where you had two different versions
This
of a
is the
landing
last thing I wanna
page.
show you.
And do you prefer Alex, Alexandra? What's
So I'm scheduling
I
it
really
now.
don't mind, but you can call me Alex.
okay? Cool, I appreciate that. And then just in order to make the best use of your time, just a couple of quick questions. So
Hear that?
hypothetically,
That's
if you look at
overtime
an A/B
questions.
test, something
So what I'm
where
doing
you're
here-
going to run two different.
What I'm doing there is I'm saying after I schedule the meeting, another thing that we've tested and it's incredible how well this works. Once you schedule an appointment with someone, say, in order to make this the best use of your time, Danielle, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? They always say, sure. What is it? And then you have this, we call an overtime period, overtime questions. So now we can ask them additional questions that we weren't able to get the answers to before. Like, who else do you want to include in the meeting? You know, what's been challenging or problematic about what you're doing, et cetera. So.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So like how often, initially in the call, she's like, yeah, I just don't know, and you know, she objected and you just moved right along. How often does that happen where you have to just kind of like,
All the time.
all the time?
Yeah, because remember, she's in the 40% who's susceptible to looking.
Mhm.
So she's always, it's like the dominoes going either way. She might say no to a meeting, she might say yes to a meeting. What you're trying to do is create enough value for the meeting that the meeting is inherently useful and to keep the meetings good.
How important is being charming?
Not as important as you think.
Okay,
It's much more important to do this.
okay.
It's much more important to do this. Access, curiosity, credibility, commitment. I gained access, I generated curiosity through my 3x3 research. I did some research on her website, I saw that they are running these different programs to establish credibility through the shared truths. Because I'm talking to marketers, I hear that they really struggle with A/B testing, they don't have statistical significance, they don't know CCS and HTML, it's a pain in the neck. That establishes credibility. I wasn't particularly charming in how I said it, but I'm getting right back to, I'm earning the right to the commitment. I'm earning the right to ask questions, I'm earning the right to the conversation and a commitment. Because that's what's missing for your clients. What's missing is your clients, if the salespeople actually get the leads, let's assume the salespeople see the leads, they don't know how to take that lead, which is a clue, let's be honest, and take that clue and say, I'm gonna be Columbo and I'm gonna go and figure out who to talk to, map the org chart, get the direct line, get the 3x3 research, get the person on the phone or get them to respond to an email and engage. They don't know how to do it.
Steve, why do you think that's so difficult for them? I mean,
They've never been taught.
But I mean, you know, I came into the organization and something that we started doing, we call it social media mapping, where we take, you know, prospects and we do research on them. We Google them. I mean, it's kind of like watching the show Catfish, where you're like, it's a simple Google search. Like, why are you so stupid? So, I mean,
Here's why.
Is there something inherently that we're not understanding about their organizational structure?
Yes, there is. Because first of all, it depends on how the leads are routed. In a place like a Polycom, if the leads are routing directly to closers, to people whose job it is to close business, guess where they inherently care about it? The bottom of the funnels. All of my time is spent trying to close the stuff I have in my funnel.
And
The
so
top of it, I'll figure that out later.
And everything we're doing is considered top of the funnel.
Oh, for sure. You're even above this. This is the sales funnel. You're the marketing funnel. You're up here.
So really, we would just need a very, very motivated salesperson to take a larger initiative than what they have been trained to do.
One of the problems might be that the leads aren't getting to them in the first place. Another problem might be that the leads are going to the wrong group of salespeople. At some of these companies we're talking about, NetApp, there are literally probably 50 different sales roles. So if it was routing to a sales role that actually cared about it, that would make a difference. Like, for example, the sales development people. Like I mentioned before, their door opener, sales development, always cares about top of funnel. One of the questions I'd be asking all of your clients is, do you have a sales development team? Do you have a sales development function?
Maybe we could just see about going to,
Send
like,
them-
maybe
send
we
them
are
to
going
sales
to the wrong
development.
person. Like
Yeah.
even on the Polycom calls, when we say, hey, they're like, oh, this is the account, the area manager. Maybe they don't need to be going to the manager. Maybe
No.
they need to be going
Sales development.
to somebody
Okay.
else in the organization.
Yeah.
Maybe we're asking the wrong question.
It
You
could
should
be
be asking, do you have a sales development team? And I'd say most of our clients, I'd use this client voice we've been talking about, most of our clients, when they get these leads, they send them to sales development.
Mhm.
Because sales development is, their job is to take leads and qualify them and then convert them into appointments for the field or for whoever,
Okay.
right? And then the final thing that it could be of the problems is the education. Because it could be that these people, they don't know what to do. They literally don't know what to do to leads. Like, the comp plan might be aligned, they might have the right team, but they literally don't know